Welcome to RaceDay Nation. I'm Rob D'Amico alongside Michele, Rahal, and I can tell you, for us, it's a labor of love, and no matter where you're watching, we do appreciate it. And don't forget, the show is presented by Rhino.co. If you're trying to sell your car, you can do it right there in the classifieds, and also they have the Racer Support Tour 2.0. You got to check that one out as well. They're giving money out to the local guys, racers, tracks, you name it, teams. They take care of them all. So, Michele, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today. We do appreciate it.
I'm always pleased as punch to be here.
Pleased as what? Is this an old person saying?
It's an old political. It was Mondale that came up with it. I'm pleased.
Gotcha.
Punch to be here. So anybody younger than 60 isn't going to know what the hell I'm talking about.
All right, so let's get to it. Top stories. What's some of the top stories we have out this week? Because there's a lot of driver changes taking place, and I think that's what's capitalized or been at the top of the list here on the latest news and rumors.
As far as F1 is concerned, one of the big stories is what's going on with these young drivers. What's going to take place with the young drivers? And Alonso has come out and this isn't my fault. I'm not standing in the way of any young driver. I'm as fast as I ever was. I'm not in anybody's way. So if it's somebody to blame the others. I can be the best of you, and I'm 41 years old, and I don't care. He's right. He's got every reason to stay right where he is, although it is, he did admit, he said the contract's up in the air, but, the guy is scoring points every race, and he looks to be as fast as he was when he was 21 years old.
And he's amazing. Still in the top 10 in points. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and an Alpine, and the cars just, they're mid-pack cars. Haas is going to be, I think, as we move down the line, we're going to see the Haas cars move up the line as the season goes along. But the Alpines, if they can improve them just a bit, you're going to see Alonso. Alonso has, he's had, things go wrong that just simply were not his fault. And he'd be a lot further up the line in points were it not for that. But the guy's as fast as he ever was. And he is a master at the start. He just overtakes as much. He's greedy, man. He takes everything he can get at the start.
That's greedy in a good way.
In a standing start, man, you got to take all the places you can get. As chaotic as it is, you got to get everything you can get by the first turn, because once you reach that first turn and go into the second, third, and fourth, the race starts to settle down immediately. So he goes for it, and he always seems to come out on top.
All right, we're also talking NASCAR, because NASCAR, they have Denny Hamlin now signs Tyler Reddick right after his win, and RCR just re-signed him to continue his contract through 2023, so he won't actually get on the grid for the 2311, which is the team Denny Hamlin owns with Michael Jordan, in until 2024. So a weird set of circumstances here that they make this big announcement, they do this whole ordeal, and then it's all about 2024. But here's what I think's going on. I think that they're trying to do is force their hand right over at RCR, because now RCR is like, I don't want to support this kid. If he's going over there, why am I going to dump all this money from sponsors and all this into a guy when he's going to leave not only my team, he's going to leave the manufacturer, he's going to leave all his sponsors here at the table, and he's going over to another team. He's like, no, let me now get somebody in that position to take over. And I think it might be his other grandkid, Ty Dillon, back to RCR.
It's like they're ripping a playbook. Somebody's ripping each other's playbook out of IndyCar, NASCAR, when it comes down to McLaren, Palou, and Ganassi. And you got the same thing going on in NASCAR. It's like, it's hilarious. In Formula One, we don't know what's going to happen just yet. We'll find out soon enough. I mean, as the season moves along after the summer break, that's when usually everything starts to fall into place for next year.
Yeah, I just thought with the Tyler Reddick deal, I feel like this is more about Denny Hamlin pushing the issue to get RCR to release him, to get him in that car a little bit earlier. But what does Denny do? Does he make it a 3-car team, a 3-car team? Because he has Kurt Busch right now. He has Bubba Wallace, and now it could be Tyler Reddick as soon as, listen, he gets released from RCR, which I do believe will happen, and it'll happen sooner than you think.
Is it a release of a buyout? Is there a buyout involved? Do you know that, the contract?
So I don't know what the contract there was. So Tyler Reddick there was an extension signed to go through 2023. And I don't know if that's because sponsors that signed on board or said, hey, we're in for, let us have this young driver, because Austin Dillon's over there, and Austin's been driving for a while, but don't get me wrong, he's still a great driver and he could do well. He just seems like, he's sitting outside the top 10 in points, or actually even the top 16 to get into the playoffs. So it's going to be a really hard situation to get these guys all figured out here. Go ahead.
I swear to you, Palou is absolutely following a script. I mean, the same exact thing has happened. Ganassi screaming extension. He's got an extension. McLaren saying, no, you can kiss our ass because we've got them. And I mean, it's just going back and forth. It's almost like, Foghorn Leghorn from the cartoons where the little chicken hawk, the big chicken and the dog are fighting, and the little chicken hawk's going, I don't care who wins, I'll fricassee the loser. It's amazing.
It is. All right. We're going to take a break here when we come.
Netflix series. It really is.
See, and I want to make mention of this because
it needs to happen.
Austin Dillon has a series out right now on USA. You can watch it after the races. Usually it happens. So I've seen it. My problem is I don't like the part that's almost like the Chrisleys, and it's a little made up to me. But if they went with
having any fun right now either.
No. But if they twisted it a little bit and made it more behind the scenes of the racing stuff, I think you'd have a little more carry through. And maybe they're trying to do that to get the women involved. I don't know. But if it had more of the driver side and the racing side elements, I think it'd be spot on. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to break down the race that just happened at New Hampshire, and we'll get you up to speed on what's going on there, show you the winner. We'll hear from those guys, and also Coach Joe Gibbs. We'll hear from him. It's all next right here on RaceDay Nation. Welcome back to RaceDay Nation. I'm Rob D'Amico alongside Michele Rahal. Our website is RaceDayNation.com, where you can find all of our podcasts up there. We have a network of podcasts, plus this show, and news and rumors from all over the world, and for that matter, the web. I got to give some love to TobyChristie.com, which lets us use his RSS feeds up on the site, and Racer Magazine, they got something up there, and also Motorsport.com. So great if you're looking for the latest news and stuff. It's all right there at RaceDay Nation. The show is presented by Rhino.co, classified, basically online classifieds for your car. If you're selling car parts, race cars, you name it, you can find it all right there at Rhino.co. All right, Michele, we're going to get into it. The race at New Hampshire. I thought it was a pretty good race. These guys were racing back and forth. There was some hard charging. A lot of these guys are having a hard time getting used to this car on this track. So it's really interesting to see these guys go on that, that mile track and really, you saw the guys that had a great handle on it. One of them was Chase Elliott throughout that race. Also, Martin Truex Jr. He had a great time at that racetrack until, I got caught up in some stuff and then had to go to the back. But for that matter, I thought it was a pretty good show there.
It was a good show, but it also showed that Christopher Bell had managed to set that car up. His crew set that car up to where he takes the lead on lap 41 to go, and then wins by 5 seconds over Elliott. And to do that in NASCAR is difficult at best. And it just shows that you have to work your way up through the race to set the car up for that last stint. But to take the lead at 41 and not relinquish it, I thought was astounding.
Yeah, it was very impressive. A young kid. Listen, he's
Yeah.
pretty much ran everything from dirt, midgets, super late model, all this stuff, working his way through, and he's won pretty much everywhere he's gone. Now this is his second NASCAR win, so congratulations to him. We'll run down the top 10 here in a second, but this is a kid, man, definitely deserves it. They had the lobster there at the end where he lifts the lobster, and he had to, I don't think he kissed it.
The lobster.
He was so scared of the lobster. It's pretty funny.
I'd be scared of the damn lobster. What are you talking about? That damn thing has huge claws on it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Boy. Well, hey, listen, he's got to protect himself because you know what's coming next for this poor guy. the hot water.
Oh, man. Right. That's cruelty.
Yeah. All right, let's run down the top 10 here. So the top 10 is Christopher Bell. Congratulations to him. Again, it's his second victory of his career in the NASCAR Cup Series. And his 11th top 10. Chase Elliott was second. Here's one that I'm really surprised was Bubba Wallace running up there with that 2311 team. Martin Truex Jr. in a Toyota. He did very well. Kevin Harvick, the old guy, man, back in it. Very surprised to see him up there because he hasn't really had the season that we are used to with a guy like Harvick. Then you had Denny Hamlin, another Toyota. Brad Keselowski ended up in there. And by the way, him and Austin Dillon, they had it out on the track. I mean, they were beating and banging each other, running each other off the track. I don't know what was going on there, but whatever happened.
Classic case, dude, of the changing of the guard. It's a classic case of it. And the older guys, the experienced drivers, man, they don't want to give it up. They don't want to give it up. They want to give the business to these young guys and try to teach them a lesson. And what's happening is these young guys have started so early in their career that they're very experienced by the time they get to Cup. Not to, foregoing the people that are trying to push their drivers up a little too soon. I think Dagan, is that her name? Might be a classic example of trying to go a little too fast.
Yeah. Haley Deegan, you're talking about in the trucks. Listen, yeah. I knew that plan behind the scenes. They wanted her to come up, get in the trucks, get in an Xfinity, and be in Cup in 3 years. And I was like,
yeah, they wanted to Danica Patrick her. Then that's just not going to happen. Now, Danica Patrick, a marketing, ploy, genius, right. However they did that, won one IndyCar race. Not to say she doesn't have talent. I didn't win an IndyCar race, so the girl's got talent. But nonetheless, it was marketing, and you cannot win these kinds of races, especially NASCAR, with just marketing. Yeah. It takes a lot of effort to get there.
All right, let me finish up here. So it was Ross Chastain, and our man, we call him Crash Stain, but I'm sure he loves that name. His teammate was right behind him, Daniel Suarez and Kurt Busch, who ran up front most of the day, had a pretty good run, finished in the top 10 spot there. So congratulations to all of them. We're going to get into the playoffs here in a little bit, but stick around because coming up next, we're going to talk about IndyCar and those guys racing in Toronto. Some great stuff there and some more crazy news and rumors coming out of that series as well. For Michele Rahal, I'm Rob D'Amico. Stick around. This is RaceDay Nation.
See you.
Welcome back. This is RaceDay Nation. I'm Rob D'Amico alongside Michele Rahal. Michele, where can they find you on social media?
They can find me at Michele Rahal on Facebook, and that's MiChele Rahal, and on Instagram at Michele Rahal, MiChele, and the number 9. Join me there and post, comment, do whatever you want. I don't care. I don't care. You figure it out.
That's great.
I have no idea how to use the damn thing, but I'm trying. I'm learning. If an old
That's
dog,
right.
Hey, you can teach an old dog new tricks if they want to learn. I want to learn.
That's all right. All right, you can find me at Rob D'Amico on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that great stuff, and it's ROBDAMICO. And also follow along with the show at RaceDay Nation on Instagram. Okay, let's get into IndyCar. IndyCar was at Toronto, and Scott Dixon with the win, man. The old guy. Speaking of old guys,
came out and he came back.
God, it was awesome to watch
Gave
this
him the
guy
business.
get back to victory lane, and a special moment for him because what happened? He got the
Right.
ties up with
Mario
Andretti, yeah, which is awesome, man. Talk about that.
Yeah, tying up with somebody with a legend like Andretti is a big deal. And Dixon has been around a while, but, you know, everybody's wondering, okay, what's going on with Ganassi? What's going on with Dixon? Is he a little too old? Blah, 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 blah. No, he's not too old. But what people don't realize is these cars are damn near spec cars, at least the Indy cars, much closer than Formula One. F1's a totally different formula. And these cars are close together. So if the team can get the way the car needs to be set up for the particular driver, then you've got gold. Dixon has had a problem with getting this car set up to his liking. Well, he put it together in Toronto, and he looked like Dixon of old. He had some fighting with Herta. We'll get into that a little later. There's a funny story behind that. While Herta was chasing him, so we'll talk about that in a later segment.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let me run down the results here because that is a funny story. You're going to want to hear this one. Scott Dixon, as you mentioned, is the winner there. Congratulations to him. Colton Herta second. Felix Rosenquist, another guy that he's done pretty well, and I was surprised that he hasn't been this is also tied in with all those rumors that are going on right now. So we'll get into that here in a minute as well. Then you had Graham Rahal. Great run for him. He hasn't been in the top 5 for a very long time, so I'm glad to see him up there. Marcus Ericsson
finished this.
It probably I think you may be right. I think this is his probably
I haven't checked.
His best finish
it's not
so
like
far
the
this year.
Rahal term, typical family, but that's the way it goes, man. The Rahal is crazy. We're insane.
Marcus Ericsson is 5th. Alex Palou was 6th. 7th is Simon Pagenaud. Christian Lundgaard was 8th. Scott McLaughlin was 9th, and Joseph Newgarden rounds out the top 10 there. So congratulations to all those guys.
For Penske, and then Newgarden being where he is a little bit of a surprise, especially on a street course.
I'll run down the points. Marcus Ericsson still your points leader at 351 points. Will Power, Alex Palou, Scott Dixon moves up. Joseph Newgarden, Pato O'Ward, Scott McLaughlin, Colton Herta, Felix Rosenquist, and Simon Pagenaud round out your top 10 there. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Fernando Alonso. We talked about it in the first segment. We're going to break this one down a little bit because what F1 is going through with the younger drivers and the older drivers and some of these guys, I think the next guy on the radar is a guy like Vettel. What happens with Vettel next? So we're going to kind of break that down and talk about
a commune somewhere on an island and go eat coconuts. God knows.
I like that one.
Look like he should move to San Francisco and pitch a tent.
We'll talk about that coming up next right here on RaceDay Nation. Welcome back to RaceDay Nation. I'm Rob D'Amico alongside Michele Rahal. Thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate it. And I know if you're watching the show, you're thinking, God, these guys talk about everything, which is awesome. Don't worry, we got some IMSA coming up as well. We'll be talking about that and breaking that one down at Lime Rock because they had the GT cars out there, and I love that type of racing. So I'm going to enjoy that segment. There's no doubt. But right now we're talking about some old guys. No, not Michele Rahal. We talk about him all the time. But we're talking about some of these old racer guys like Fernando Alonso in F1, Sebastian Vettel, some of these guys that what are they going to be doing here in the next couple of years? Even Lewis Hamilton, right? This is a guy that, is kind of on that doorstep. And what's next for these guys? So Alonso, big article came out and said, hey, I'm not stopping these young guys, right? I'm not in the way. No. I'm not finishing behind them. I'm not taking up a ride. It's legit because he's not. He's literally in the top 10 in points.
He's not Kimi Räikkönen. I mean, Räikkönen was, losing his desire for it. And Alonso came right out and said, this is my life. This is all I do. This is all I want to do. I'm not a businessman, even though he does have a lot of business interest. He said, I do a lot for younger drivers. I try to bring them up. I own a karting, a whole karting academy. He's helping an F4 driver right now. So the guy is giving back, but he's very adamant about the fact that I'm just as fast as you bastards. So shut your mouths. Just
Easy, cowboy.
I know. I'm not interested in hearing your crap because I'm faster than you are. And if you don't like it, too bad. But he is, there is a couple of drivers out there, mainly Piastri. And Piastri is one that does deserve a ride. He really does. But if that were going to take, if Piastri was going to go anywhere, if they were going to keep Alonso at Alpine, which I think they should do because he is the ultimate in strategy, this is a driver that can call strategy from the cockpit. He literally embarrassed, and Matteo Binotto admitted it. He said, Alonso embarrassed us from the pit lane because he could call the race better than we could with all of our equipment and seeing everything that we can see. Alonso was calling the race way ahead of time, and he had us beat. And he's doing the same thing at Alpine, and he's helping the development. And that's what Alpine needs. They need to be able to get those cars out of midfield and on the tail end of Mercedes, of Red Bull, and of
Ferrari.
Thank you.
Old person moment right
you
there.
Realize that I'll be blacklisted if I ever hit the lottery. I'll never be able to buy a Ferrari.
That's right. You forgot to name them.
They will blacklist my ass.
You and Kim Kardashian.
You're done.
That's the second thing you have in common with Kim Kardashian. We can't talk about the other thing. All right. So my next question would be, what do you do with a guy like Sebastian Vettel? Sebastian Vettel's one of these guys over at Aston Martin, right? And yeah, I'm blacklisted from Aston Martin now. But he's over at Aston Martin. He's sitting there. I got a funny story there because I'll tell you a little bit later, but he's sitting there in this ride, not really doing anything. Can he go somewhere else? Is he at that point where it's like, all right, it's time to make room for a younger kid?
Yeah, I think with him it is, because what's standing in the way it is, Sebastian Vettel is right now his own worst enemy. I mean, he's gone after so many activist type. He's become such an activist that he's actually gone to the homeless look. I mean, and he's got no patience for anything. He's after all of these woke issues. And that is, I think, damaging the guy. And not to mention Stroll, who owns the team, is not doing Vettel any favors. I mean, he's taken the motivation right out of the guy, and he's chasing him right into the Rainbow Bridge. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think it's time for Vettel to exit stage right.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that all plays out. But Lewis Hamilton, another one is. That's right.
He got nothing to apologize for,
That's right. Lewis Hamilton is kind of in the same boat there. He's listen, he's got the drive. He could get 8 championships. It's not going to be this year, obviously, because Mercedes is struggling, and we'll have to see how that all plays out over the next few.
Red Bull is tipping them to win at Paul Ricard this weekend.
Yeah.
As you and I both know, they lie for a living, and they throw psychological roadblocks and all the time just to screw with each other's heads. So the flexing floors and everything they can come up with, whatever they can do to get into each other's heads. But the thing about Hamilton is, yes, he's an activist, and yes, he has outside interest, but he does it with style. And Vettel, unfortunately, has gone for the homeless look. I mean, he might, like I said, he might as well move to Seattle and just pitch a tent. He'd be fine.
All right. Well, that's good advice. We'll pass that along, no doubt.
You can tell him I said so.
All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, though, we're going to talk about the Xfinity Series, another great race in New Hampshire for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So stick around. That's all coming up next right here on RaceDay Nation. Welcome back. This is RaceDay Nation. I'm Rob D'Amico alongside Michele Rahal. We're talking about it before the segment here. Xfinity Series at New Hampshire, a great race going on there, and actually a really horrific crash, if you will, sending a car about, I'm not kidding you, when it got hit in the rear end, popped up. It was Ryan Sieg. He pops up like this, and I swear that car was almost 90 degrees. It was probably, a good 7 feet off the ground, something like that. So got hit pretty hard crash, puts him up in the air, comes down. Everybody's okay. What you're worried about in a situation with that is when you come down as a racer sitting in that seat and you hit all the compression. Oh, man. We've seen it before. Yeah. Eric Almirola a couple years ago when he was in the 43, had that bad wreck, broke some bones in his back. Anytime you go up in the air like that and come down,
it'll catch up with you. As you get older, it'll catch up with you.
Even Jeff Gordon has some of those issues today. So that's one of those things that, you got to watch out for. All right. So we're talking to Xfinity guys. They were at New Hampshire. I'm going to run down the top 10 here. It was Justin Allgaier, his 19th victory of his career, his 12th top 10 of this season. He led 47 laps. That wasn't the most because I think it was Ty Gibbs who actually ran 49 at the front, but Ty Gibbs had some trouble late and wasn't even in the top 10. So it was Trevor Bayne, Brandon Brown. It was also Jeremy Clements, which is this. You never hear this guy up at the top 5, but here he is. Sheldon Creed, the rookie, Ty Dillon, Austin Hill. You also had Kylie Weatherman, Mason Massey, and Bailey Curry. So congratulations to all those guys for getting the top 10.
I got a question for you. Do we really think Ty Dillon is ready to move up to Granddaddy's team?
Well, he was there before, and then he had the opportunity to move over somewhere, and I think that had more to do with getting paid and being a driver, because at the other team is behind his brother, and there were some things going on. And now, possibly, does he come back? Absolutely. I think it's the case. He's driving in a Petty car right now in the Cup Series. So just making that transition back over to his grandfather's team makes all the sense in the world, if that's what's going to happen. All right, let's see here. Let's look at points real quick. AJ Allmendinger is still your points leader. Justin Allgaier moves up to second. Ty Gibbs falls to third. Josh Berry is fourth. Noah Gragson, Austin Hill, Brandon Jones, Sam Mayer, Riley Herbst, and Daniel Hemrick. Michele Rahal's two cousins right there. back to back and still hanging in the top 10 there. All right. So good stuff for those guys.
In close proximity to each other. As it should be.
Oh man, that kills me. But I will say it was another good race. I love that track for what it does. Very low banking, hard to drive in the corners. You saw like a guy like Chase Elliott driving way down against that apron like Tony Stewart used to do. Tony Stewart would drive that place like it was a slot car racing track. It was just
like a Martinsville sort of thing.
Just sit in that groove, stay down there. Some of these guys now, and I don't know, it may be this new car, you see them come down and then they kind of start washing up towards the end, coming out of the corner. So it's been pretty interesting to watch over the last few years what they've done with that track. And they head to Pocono next. We'll talk about that coming up, but I'm not a huge fan of Pocono, but I just never been. It's just one of those tracks, and I hope it makes for a great race because the last few weeks we have seen some great racing going on in NASCAR, which
I did a lot of practice at Pocono, but that was on part of the oval and the road course, so wholly different experience.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Cup playoffs because we got a breakdown of who's in, who's out, how many spaces are available, and how many guys are fighting for that. Stick around. This is RaceDay Nation. There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated. Grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it. It's the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Have it delivered to your door by a certified dealer in your community and start enjoying the ultimate cooking experience. Visit BigGreenEgg.com. All right, we're getting into the final few races before you get into the playoffs for NASCAR. And one of these things that I always like to see is that battle. But we've had 15 different winners, and there's only 16 spots. So you have one spot for these guys to get in. You have about, I'd say, a good 2 or 3 guys right now that can make their way in. So let's take a look at what we have right now with this playoff picture. So the playoff picture kind of looks like this. Chase Elliott sits on top. He's got 2,035 points. Then you have Ross Chastain, who this guy is amazing. He's with Trackhouse, and the team isn't really, it was Chip Ganassi at one point, but now they're this powerhouse. And they have Ross, and then they also have Daniel Suarez, who also is locked into the playoffs, which is really cool. So they have both of their teams in. Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Kyle Larson, just to name a few of these guys, battling it out and trying to get another win so they can get up in there. Then you have Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Alex Bowman, Tyler Reddick with his win, Kurt Busch going in there, Chase Briscoe, Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric, who, by the way, won the Daytona 500 and is in here. And then this most recent win was with Christopher Bell. And I got to tell you, these guys, 15 different winners. Could we see 16 before the end of the run here of the regular season? And I think we could. It'd be pretty neat to see that you have to win to get in. That's just, it's awesome. Yeah. I think it'd be cool. But I will say, here's some of the guys that are on the outside. You got a guy like Kevin Harvick, right? He sits there, the old guy, got all this experience in the world. Then you got Eric Almirola right behind him. Those two, by the way, teammates, could make this very difficult for people if they have to fight over that last spot. So it'll be interesting to see. Then you have Eric Jones and Austin Dillon. But now that I'm looking at this, hold on, I have either I got this wrong. I got to look at my paperwork here.
Isn't it the top 20 to get in?
No, it's the top 16.
Well, if we're looking at it that way, then someone that would take 2 races could not. Is there a knockout here?
So, I mean, if you're looking at this, it looks like that Harvick would have to be, or Eric Jones, or Austin Dillon, or anybody for that matter, would have to win twice to bump some of these guys out. Or
that's what I just said.
If they win, they get bumped up if they're higher in points in front of the other person. So this is gonna get pretty interesting. There's no doubt about that. So really excited about this. Can't wait to see how this all plays out with the playoff picture in NASCAR, in the Cup Series especially, because I really do think that we're looking at special times when you can get that many different people running at that front and running after a championship. All right, let's take a break here. When we come back, I do want to hear from the crew chief. Actually, you know what? I'm going to hear from the crew chief right now, from Christopher Bell, who actually won the race yesterday, because it's a pretty cool thing. And, just you'll hear him say one thing and you'll hear the driver say another thing.
Man, it really means a lot. We had a couple we felt slip away from us early in the year. Certainly race-winning cars and race-winning efforts, and weren't able to put it all together. And today, I'll be the first to admit, I don't think we had the best car.
I had a first-place race car. At the end of that race, basically the last third stage, my car was the fastest one out there, especially on the long run, and I did my job to maximize that.
That was Christopher Bell's crew chief, Adam Stevens. And it was funny when you heard Christopher Bell say at the end of he had the car, he knew he had a car, he had the winning car. But when you listen to crew chief was like, car could have been better. We didn't have definitely the winning car, but luckily we got
that.
I know.
Say that. He won the damn race, but it could always be better. We left so much on the table.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, name me a race car crew chief that doesn't say that. They all say that. But hats off to them. They won the race. That's what counts.
And I will say this, even Joe Gibbs, who came on, I want to play this real quick. This is Joe Gibbs.
Hopefully we'll get ourselves going in a little better direction now. This was a big deal for us for sure. And so hopefully we can get a few more wins. We need to get Martin in too. Did
you notice how many times he mentioned Martin Truex Jr.? This is a guy that, Joe's trying to get him in the championship for the chase or for the playoffs and all this stuff. But listen, it may not be his thing. And, you know, he's really trying hard. He mentioned Martin a few times, and I think they really like Martin because Martin's bringing some big sponsors to the table over there. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about IndyCar next right here on RaceDay Nation. Welcome back. This is RaceDay Nation. I'm Rob D'Amico alongside Michele, Rahal. Don't forget to check us out on the web, racedaynation.com. Also, our sponsor, rhino.co. All right, Michele, we were talking about it. Scott Dixon wins the race yesterday, and we had a battle going on with Colton Herta, but Colton Herta had his own little battle going on. What was that all about?
Yeah, he was making inroads into Dixon, and, you know, the hoods that you wear underneath the helmets, those are called balaclavas. And what happened was Herta's hair is so long that something went wrong with his balaclava and the hair fell in front of his face. So the guy is looking out on either side of his eye to try to see Dixon. And that took him, you know, that basically he could see a corner if he looked to the side. So he was pretty much driving blind there for a while. And that just doesn't make a lot of sense. Listen, if you're going to have long hair, I had long hair. At one time I had hair. But I know, right?
Well, I better not lean down.
I
want to see mine
hair,
either.
but you put it in a ponytail, man. You know, you flick it back, put it in a ponytail. You're there to do a job. You don't walk around with I don't know what damn haircut you want to call that Colton's got. It needs to change it. I mean, it's pretty weird. But I can guarantee you that mistake won't happen again.
Yeah, I do believe that. And also, you know, we joke, but it's like the Cup guys or the Xfinity guys or anybody in the tin tops when the hood comes up. It's almost the exact same thing. You're kind of, you know, looking around trying to see it. You can get into a corner, but you can't see in front of you. And when your hair's down in your face, that's going to happen. And
yeah, I mean, he's having to look out the corners just to see the corners. Yeah. You know, and his hair is falling right in his face. There's just there's no excuse for that. I mean,
yeah, that's what I was about to say, because in the next segment, we're going to talk about some of the rumors that are going on with a guy like Colton Herta. We've talked about it here in the show before. We still haven't heard any with the Andretti, with the F1 deal. Some of these guys are getting tests in these McLarens and things like that. And McLaren is really going after some of these guys really hard. Zach Brown is mentioning that, hey, if we're going to compete, we got to get the big talent coming up because, you know, it's hard to compete against Ferrari. It's hard to compete against Red Bull.
You got to have an American driver in there. That's what Zach Brown's main deal is, because he sees the marketing dollars sitting there. We can talk about that in the next segment.
And not even just in F1, but also on the IndyCar side as well.
Correct.
So stick around. We're going to talk about that. It's all coming up next right here on RaceDay Nation. Welcome back to RaceDay Nation. You can find us on the website, racedaynation.com. Our sponsor is rhino.co, where they have the Race Support Tour 2.0, where they're giving away free money to local racers, local tracks, and just some great local teams. Got that local feel to help these guys out because they need it too. And it's nice to see a sponsor like that doing some good in the neighborhood. There's no doubt. Yeah. All right, Michele, Rahal, I'm Rob D'Amico, and we were talking about some of the silly season going on. It's about that time of year where things really start to take place. Drivers start to move around. Teams start making some adjustments. Sponsors are trying to get back on or trying to switch teams, or new sponsors bringing in, trying to get some big announcements going. But this is the time of year for that. So that being said,
they're all looking 2 years out. I mean, we just had Colton Herta test in last year's McLaren, and he tested at, I believe it was Spain, Portimao. He tested the car, and, you know, it's not about the speed that these guys can produce when they first get in these cars. It's about how quickly they can come to terms with the systems and how they incrementally can get faster but how familiar they become with them. Now, Hurt is no stranger to racing in Europe. Lando Norris is a big admirer of Hurta's because he said nobody in F3 went through corners faster than Hurta. So Hurta's used to this. But Alex Palou, I mean, he had his shot in Abu Dhabi earlier in the year, and he did well. But nobody's comparing these, the lap times and things like that. What they are looking for is the Friday driver. If they allow them to do the Friday practice, the morning practice, that gives them some time in the car. Now, the new car, the cars that these two guys drove were last year's cars. The new cars are heavier cars. Is that going to give them a little bit of an advantage so they're a little bit more used to that weight? I think it probably will. But they're going to have to choose one of these drivers to be their Friday driver. And God knows who it's going to be. But Zach Brown, you got to hand it to Zach Brown. He's given these kids a shot, and that's what they need, because we need somebody from the Americas to be able to make an entrance into F1. Simple as that.
Yeah, and I think these guys, we talked about Rosenquist earlier on the show, and he's one of those guys been rumored to actually go to Formula E for McLaren, opening up the spot for him, where maybe Alexander Rossi moves over and does stuff like that, and is able to race in F1 or maybe do something with one of the other teams for McLaren.
I can't see Rossi ever going back to F1. He did his deal there. He didn't have the right team. He didn't make the right impression. Andretti is, again, not making the right impression, at least according to some of the teams. I mean, obviously, Zach Brown wants the Andretti team, American team, in. But, Andretti called it right. Let's just call it what it is. The Europeans, when we come to play in Formula One, it comes down to money and elitism. They are snobs. I'm sorry, but they really, really are. They've never treated the American drivers, except for maybe Phil Hill and Andretti back in the day. But they've become elitists, and they don't treat us the same way. And they've always treated Andretti with a bit of disdain, although even Senna, as his teammate, said, "You're not treating him the same way you're treating me, and it's a shame that you're not doing that." Hopefully, Andretti gets that 11th car in. It's all about money. It's all about splitting up the prize money, all about splitting up the points money at the end of the year. That's what it's about.
I will say there's also some other rumors going on with Scott Dixon, whether he stays with Ganassi in IndyCar or maybe moves to an ownership part of McLaren in IndyCar. So that'll be interesting to see where that plays out as well as we get towards the end of this season to see what's going on. All right, for Michele Rahal. Yeah, I do too, man, because listen, the guy's getting up there. What is he, 42 something in that? And listen, he wants an ownership stake. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I would speculate if I was the driver.
Jeff Gordon was filthy in there, you know.
All right, Michele, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Where can they find you online?
They can find me at Michele Rahal on Facebook. That's MiChele Rahal. And on Instagram, it's at Michele Rahal, MiChele, and the number 9. Join me on Instagram. Let's build that following up, baby.
You can follow me at the same thing, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that great stuff. At Rob D'Amico, ROBDAMICO. For Michele Rahal, I'm Rob D'Amico. Thank you so much for watching. We do appreciate it.